We've all had this problem before. We have all had problems mixing in our bass lines and having problems with muddy basses. If you want to learn how to mix in your bass line, then check out this tutorial. What's up everyone, it's Daniel here from UpstreamSquad, and today we're going to go over how you can mix in your bass lines. Bass lines can get really muddy in the mix. They have a lot of bloated frequencies that eat away from a lot of the other elements in your mix just because of the sheer power that they have in the low-mid frequencies. Now there is no one exact fix that you can apply to all of your tracks to get a clean and powerful mix. Like everything else in mixing, it all comes down to the track that you're working on. Certain bass lines may need specific type of processing, as we'll see in this tutorial. So let's get into the DAW and open up a mix that I've recently been working on, where the bass line was especially problematic. So for our example, we're going to go over a track that I recently mixed for Rick Wright called Ambient Nada. So let's have a listen to the track and pay close attention to the bass line. So we have a little arpy bass line going, it's driving the rhythm and works well in the track, but it is a bit muddy. Let's have a listen to the bass and solo. Now let's have a listen to it with the drums as well. So it's a little bulky, and it's eating up a lot of headroom in the mix. And when you have a bulky bass line, it's really going to take a lot of energy away from other instruments in the mix. And for our bass, we have two layers. We have the plucked bass layer and the mid bass layer. And we're going to go ahead and mix in our pluck bass layer so it is less muddy and it gels a little bit better with the mid bass. So when I first start mixing my bass line, I like to solo it and do some EQing to this, as that is what it needs. So I'll go grab my Fab Filter Pro Q3 here. Any EQ will work. I just prefer using Pro Q3 as I have a great level of control over the sound, lots of great meters, and transparent EQing. So how we'll go about EQing this is we'll first start by boosting frequencies and then sweeping around the problematic area. And what this will do is allow us to hear which frequencies are really poking out and really causing this mud. So let's go ahead and do that. So around that 50 hertz area is a little bit muddy. We've gone ahead and notched that out. Still a little bit of mud in the low frequencies. We'll continue doing some EQ sweeping to find out what we need to EQ out. So that sounds a little bit nasally, and we'll go ahead and remove that. And still there's a little bit of mud, so we'll add some more EQing. Right around here. And you just want to take away enough so it removes the mud, not so much you really take away the energy from the sound. Now let's have a listen without the EQing. Now with. Take away even a little bit more here in our EQ bands. You can really hear the mud being taken out. This whole area here is causing a lot of mud with the bass line. Now, since we've removed a lot of frequencies, let's go ahead and accent a little more frequencies that don't cause mud. That way we can have the bass pop out a little bit more. I like to do this when I remove a lot of frequencies just to give a little more power to the bass line. So we'll go ahead and boost around the 315 area. Now, since this bass goes through a lot of notes quickly, we have a very fast BPM at 152 beats per minute, and it covers a lot of notes, it's a little bit uneven, the low frequencies, in this sub-range to around 280 hertz or so. It's a little bit uneven. And again, that has to do with the fast tempo, it being an RP bass line, and it playing at many different notes. And with your low end, below 250 hertz, you'll always want to have that be a solid foundation. You don't want to have a high dynamic range in this area. The foundation of your track should always be solid and shouldn't be moving up and down all the time in volume, as this will create a too big a difference in energy in the track, and certain notes will sound so much more powerful and it'll again throw off the dynamics of your track. Think of a house. You don't want your foundation to be uneven and it to be shaky, or else everything on top of the foundation will not be on a solid grounding. Same thing applies for a track. We need that solid grounding. So we're going to go ahead and add a multi-band compressor that's going to compress the sub and low frequencies. So we'll go ahead and add FabFilters Pro MB. Any multi-band dynamics plugin will work here. Your stock DAW multi-band dynamic plugin will work just fine here. So around the 280 range is what we want to target, 280 and below. And since we want this to come in immediately, we're going to go ahead and take the attack all the way down so none of the original audio comes through. We want, again, the compressor to clamp down immediately on the audio to make it even. And since we don't want the compressor to recover quickly, we want there to be constant compression. We'll go ahead and move the release up so the compressor doesn't recover quickly. It's very consistent. And then we'll go ahead and adjust the threshold and the output while we listen to the audio. So let's listen to it with and without. Without first. And then with. So it's a little bit more in control now. And we also turned down the volume of it a bit with the compression. We adjusted the output to go a little bit higher because we were doing a lot of compression, but we didn't raise it enough to completely make up the gain that we lost with the compression. So we turned down all the frequencies from 280 hertz and below. And this also evens it out as well. And then finally, we're going to want to mix in this bass a little bit better with our mid bass. So let's have a listen to our mid bass here. So since our pluck bass really has the low end of the bass, we're going to go ahead and take away some high frequencies to allow more room for the mid bass to breathe. So let's listen to both of these together while we do our EQing of the high frequencies of the lower pluck bass line. So without the EQing on the high end for our low bass, and then with. So just a little bit here. You can hear that the low bass, we just took a little bit out. There wasn't too many high frequencies playing above here, so it wasn't too prominent in the mix. And we just dipped out some of those mid to high frequencies around the 800 hertz range. And this just made a little bit more room for the mid bass to come in. So like with any mix, we need to make sure that this bass line works well with the entire track playing. If it doesn't sound good with our entire mix playing, then you'll still need adjustments. It doesn't matter how good it sounds in solo. It just matters how good it sounds with the mix. So let's hear everything together here. And then without our processing, let's go ahead and turn this off so we can hear the changes. As you can hear, we removed a lot of the bloated sound in the bass line, and the other elements in our track, our pads, our synths, and drums come through much better. So that's it for this little tutorial. I hope you guys liked it. Hope you guys can take what I showed you in the tutorial and use it in your own productions. If you guys have any comments or questions, feel free to put them in the video comments, and we'd be happy to talk to you guys. For more videos like this, be sure to follow UpstreamSquad on Instagram at UpstreamSquad_ and the UpstreamSquad YouTube channel. To the top.